Welcome home, Raiders! This week we'll have more updates on the top-tier guild switcheroo from last week. We're counting down to BlizzCon. We have tons of your questions and loads of stuff in the Battlenet news and more. This is Convert to Raid number 195.
You're listening to Convert to Raid, the podcast for raiders in the World of Warcraft.
Convert to Raid podcast power station in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is September 22nd, 2015, and it is now 9:17 in the PM Central Time. Thanks for joining us from all around World of Warcraft land, and hello, my name is Pat Crane. I'm the host of this show. I'm also known as Zug around Airy Peak, US, and the players are here. Let's get to them. We've got a full house again, and we'll start it off in Cali, as we always do, with our good friend Darius.
You told me I could order a pizza with my phone if I just emoji.
Yeah, you can. You totally can. You can do it.
I did not get a pizza in the mail.
No, it won't be coming in the mail. It'll be coming to your house.
Oh.
You have to set it up though. So while you're waiting for that, we'll go to a guy from LOS Gaming. It's Tovo. Hey, Tovo.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back again. I don't know why you did after the first time, but
I think it was a clerical error.
Wait, Tovo's on the show again?
Yeah, Tovo's on the show again.
Sorry, Darius.
Yep. And also from many different podcasts. When I say many, he does StormCast, he does The Starting Zone, he does you've got like 15 other ones. Hey, it's Mick Montgomery, everybody.
Hey guys, did you hear about the guy who invented the lifesaver?
No.
I heard he made a mint.
Mm-hmm. That was
I
horrible.
got 2 kids, folks, so I'm going to be bringing dad jokes to the party from now.
Oh, dad jokes.
I don't get it.
No, Dad. You're not a dad. You wouldn't get it. It's fine.
Oh,
it's fine.
That you know of.
It's fine. Well, hi guys, hi fellas. It's nice to have you here, everybody. The big full house that we have tonight, and we've got like a little new look going for the video show. So, hope you enjoy it. Hope you dig it. I worked my butt off for it. Well, I worked at least like a half hour.
Congratulations, Pat. It looks fantastic.
Thank you very much, Mick. And for those guys that weren't listening to last week's show, how dare you, number one. And secondly, we have, we've talked a little bit about how we're going to be changing the show a little bit. And I just kind of want to, get you guys familiar with it. We're going to 4 folks on the show for the most part. Sometimes it'll be 3, but most of the time 4. And we have a series of folks that are coming by, not just Mick and not just Tovo, but it'll also be Tatva, Tovo's counterpart on the 2-minute tips, and Gizmo of Lords of the Storm, and Shark. And again, I think most of these were just clerical errors. Pretty sure.
Yeah, we went over the list of previous guests, and you mixed that up with future guests and
put it all in a hat, and I just picked the wrong ones, I think. Mick is awesome. He's got tons of shows. The rest of the guys I have no idea about.
Wait a minute.
Mick, you're great. You're awesome.
Slighted, Tovo.
I don't know what happened. That's all I'm saying. Well, welcome, fellas. And we should talk a little bit about what's been going on in our week this week. And Darius, let's start with you. What's been going on in your world of Warcrafts?
Still been doing the ratings.
Yeah.
Convert to Mythic still needs raiders, so I think we got half an application last week. So people looking to raid Thursdays and Sundays from 6:30 to 9:30 server. We need more raiders. We need everything: tanks, healers, DPS, whatever you got.
Yeah. And you were talking before the show, and you were saying that it's getting kind of hard because casual teams, and we found this to be true with the Asparagus Initiative as well. After a while, you start losing players because you're on a more casual schedule, and stuff happens, right?
Yeah, it's just we have not much of a bench, so when 2 or 3 or 4, I think last week we had 5 people out. It's really hard to do Mythic content at 20. You know, and then it's the end of an expansion. Everyone's real bored with WoW right now. Everyone's playing Heroes or thinking about Overwatch or, you know, other stuff. It's getting really hard to find people. So, you know, we're running into that wall pretty hard.
Right.
You know, we can still go back and do heroic content, which, you know, a lot of us don't need, but there are alts and things like that. So we are still doing stuff, but mythic stuff is getting harder and harder each week.
Right.
As attrition hits in.
And I was talking to somebody online via Twitter, and they were saying that, you know, casual mythic is possible, but you have to really work at it, and you know, staffing your team is the whole thing. Recruitment is so important because of this revolving door that kind of seems to be happening at the more casual mythic with the more casual mythic teams anyway. So
yeah,
and I don't know if that's probably true of the upper mythic teams as well. Those guys that are clearing, but not as much.
Yeah, I mean, they usually have more of a bench. We ran pretty lean, and that's maybe our mistake. Maybe we should have had more of a bench.
Right.
But
right,
you know, it's tough right now.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Hey, Tovo, what's going on with you, buddy?
So the times that we've been raiding, I've been raiding with Darius and them. It's like he said, it's been pretty sparse. But other than that, I've emerged from my Diablo seasonal coma. I've been playing it nonstop, pretty much.
Cool.
What Paragon level are you now?
885. And
whoa, wait. What is that?
I'm a casual though. Whenever you look at the top Paragon, it's almost twice as much as me.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty casual at this game, and I play it nonstop. So. Well, other than that, what's up?
We'll probably talk a little bit more about that when we get into the Battlenet news.
Whenever we talk about Diablo, we can talk about how terrible.
Yeah, I got to level 70 Paragon 1, and I said, I'm done. I'm out. I got my mount for Heroes of the Storm. Done. That's all I need.
So other than those two things, I started to dabble in Heroes. I'm a Heroes noob.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really bad at Heroes. And then I realized I'm still bad at Heroes, and I feel bad for my team whenever I play with them. So other than that, that's good. That's pretty much all I've been doing.
That's good. Well, Mick might be able to help you out. He's a big Heroes guy.
I'm here to learn.
And Mick, you were in Vegas this weekend, right?
Yeah, pretty much most of my time lately has been prepping for the America's Championship matches, which happened this past weekend. I was there in Las Vegas, courtesy of old Blizzard Entertainment, and got to talk to players and developers and all that good stuff, and meet some folks that listen to all the shows. And
that's so cool.
And so it was a really fun time. And
I can't imagine that it would be fun playing video games in Vegas. No.
Yeah, no, it was mind-blowingly awesome. And the crowd was great, and the event was awesome. And I got to have dinner with Dustin Browder and Chris Sagatti. So when that happens, it's a pretty damn good day.
Oh, man. That's nice. I like it. And we'll talk more about that when we hit the Battlenet news as well, because there were some fantastic matches that were going on, and I'm sure that you've got lots of stuff to talk about when it comes to that stuff. But before we get to the WoW news, first of all, let me just say a couple of different things, if I can. And one is that, we're always kind of, on this show, we've been branching out into other games, as you guys have noticed and maybe commented on. But we're not the only one. The CTR Guild is doing that as well. There are lots of CTR Guild events that are going on that are doing some of the cross gaming with some other Blizzard games and stuff like that as well. Just had a Hearthstone tournament last night. Just a quick little invitational thing. But I want to thank Totemly Drunk for holding that event for the CTR Guild. That was awesome. And can't wait for the next one next month. And speaking of next month, well, a month and a half, 45 days. You know what's coming in 45 days, gentlemen? We've got BlizzCon.
Disney?
We've got, BlizzCon, Disney, all that stuff. And my volume is way too low. There we go. Oh, boy. But all that stuff is coming 45 days away from BlizzCon. And you guys are all going to be there, right? Nobody's missing out. Okay.
I think I'm there. I know I'm going to be there.
Awesome.
It'll be my first time to California and my first time to any type of video game convention.
Wow,
So
I'm sorry that your first time in California has to be LA and Anaheim.
With Dairies.
Hey, wait a
with
minute.
me.
I live down here. What the heck?
No, this is seriously, if you haven't been to BlizzCon before and you're prepping for BlizzCon, Mick, do you have any tips for guys that are going to be traveling to BlizzCon for the very first time, going to Anaheim for the first time, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, if you can ride share from the LAX airport, that's always a good thing to do. If you can set it up with some friends so you can get an easy ride down there, do that. If you can try and maybe fly into the John Wayne airport as opposed to the LAX airport, that's another kind of fairly nearby airport as well as LAX. So that's an option. If you haven't gotten your hotel at this point, I hate to break it to you, but that's going to be rough to find one near the convention center. But for the most part, pack two types of clothes like jeans and shorts, because the last couple of BlizzCons, it's been unseasonably warm during the convention. It's been like shorts and t-shirt weather. So be prepared for that for sure.
He's not saying pack two different sets of clothes and then like just two different sets of clothes and only wear those and never shower in between. Like make sure you shower.
I appreciate if everyone, bathed adequately in between the days of the convention.
Right.
So for everyone's benefit.
The nice part is that they
Still
keep the
a problem.
convention center pretty chill. So that's nice. So no nerd stink on that stuff, which is nice. But then you go outside and it's all over. And hopefully and thankfully, so we also have the Well Played party that's coming up on the Friday of BlizzCon. So the very first night, don't forget about that Well Played party. We're going to be streaming from the party as well. And we're going to be giving away stuff. We're going to be having, I don't know, lots of fun. And we'll make sure to share it with you online if you are not going, as well as if you are going, we'll have fun with you and get to meet everybody and have a good time. So I'm looking forward to it. I really am. So World of Warcraft, actually Blizzard, they were talking about the in-game goodies that you're going to get if you get the virtual ticket or go to BlizzCon, right? So what do you have? We have the Mercadan pet. For WoW. For Heroes, we have the Nexus Battle Beast, which looks pretty cool. I'm liking that one. For Hearthstone, you have a BlizzCon card back. We have portraits for StarCraft 2. We have pennants, pets, and portraits for Diablo. All this kind of stuff. But that Mercadan pet, I don't know.
Can we just stop for a second? Is it just me, or is every year it feels like Warcraft kind of kills it with what their little giveaway is? It's a cool little pet. Heroes is giving you a friggin' mount. Those usually cost you $15 for crying out loud. Card back Hearthstone, that's pretty. But StarCraft 2 and Diablo's got to step it up. A portraits? Who in the hell wants a portrait?
I mean, there's not much else you can do though. Like they don't.
I know.
You can't skin your hero or your characters or.
You could, Darius. What if you?
Right.
What if you could skin your Diablo character to have cargo shorts and a t-shirt and an overstuffed backpack?
That'd be
anyone
awesome.
even play Diablo anymore? I mean,
not since the season ended. Well, not since now that it's kind of gone down, right? But yeah, people played it for a month.
now that Tovo doesn't play anymore, I mean, is there any reason to play?
it's I have an unhealthy relationship with Diablo, Darius. Thanks for pointing that out.
Nice.
So,
I like it.
My real life gets in the way of my Diablo instead of Diablo getting in the way of my real life. So.
Right.
It's a personal problem for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They've also announced that there's going to be an opening week for BlizzCon, and this is where we're going to see a lot of the esports kind of take shape, where they're going to start some of the tournaments. They're going to maybe have a couple of eliminations going into this. Like for Hearthstone, they're going to have a couple of eliminations. They're going to have a dual elimination format going over a few days the week before. Heroes of the Storm is going to not have any eliminations, but they're going to kind of have like a first couple of rounds. Arena as well. They're going to have some eliminations and others decided at BlizzCon. And then the StarCraft 2, 16 teams in a single elimination bracket to make it go down to 8, which is pretty cool. And there's a lot of money on the line. Holy crap, I added this up. This is $1.25 million on the line for total prizes for esports. This thing is really cooking along, this esports thing. Isn't it, Mick?
Yeah, it's for real. I mean, we all know that Mike Morheim is a fairly massive esports buff. He goes to most of the major events for all the games of Blizzard, as well as other outside games. So he's really big into esports. And Blizzard really does have to do this. They have to dump a bunch of money into the pool here to continue to keep the players vibrant and active and supported. You know, the more money that Blizzard puts on the table, the more the players get sponsored, the more they continue to play, the more they can go out and do these tournaments and such. So it's really important that Blizzard participates in this. I'd actually like to see them participate more so for some of these games than just what they're doing at BlizzCon. Heroes of the Storm really does need to expand to more of a year-round format. But for the most part, a lot of money on the line here, and some of the best players in the world are going to be there. And I think this opening weekend is great because it gets some of these matches out of the way and condenses it down. Because after sitting through 2 12-hour sessions of gaming this weekend, I can tell you that you can stack this up pretty big. It gets a little wearing after a while.
Really?
So
no.
It gets wearing sitting there and cheering.
So, Darius, are you going to be watching any of the esports going on over the? Are you planning on it?
Yeah, I really want to watch some of the Heroes stuff. I've been in Heroes quite a bit. Hearthstone, I just can't get into that, so I don't know. And then the StarCraft, I'll probably watch that just because those guys are nuts.
Is it just the slower play of Hearthstone that really isn't?
No, it's the game. I don't know. Okay. I just can't get into it, and then
it's fair
because I can't get into the game. I can't get into the
that makes sense.
Tournaments, but the StarCraft guys, I'll watch that. I'm pretty sure the guys that play StarCraft, like their actions per minute is so fast that they're actually playing in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're they are nuts. Those guys are crazy.
Right.
But, I mean, what'd you say? It was like 1 point something million?
1.25 million over 4 games.
Yeah, for 4 games though. But what was the international for Dota? What was the prize pool? 16 million for 1 game.
That's craziness, man.
This is nothing, you know.
Yeah.
This is chump change compared to that. Blizzard's got to step it up quite a bit.
Well,
they were on ESPN.
I think they're getting there. I mean, I think they're starting to kind of go that way anyway. So, seeing a lot more esports this year than we did last year.
But right though, they need to make a big statement. If they want to be considered in the top, 3 or 4. And Hearthstone actually is doing surprisingly well for esports, out there in the scene. But they just got to dump, like I said, a bunch more money into this and really roll the dice here and start to build. They've had an esports team for a couple of years now, and they do a great job led by Kim Fan and some folks. But they really just need to kind of go all in. It feels like they're still. This sounds like big money, but when you're comparing it, like Darius said, to stuff that League of Legends, the prize player, or Dota 2, it's not that much.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Tovo, are you going to be checking out any of the esports going on for BlizzCon?
Like I said, I don't know very much about Heroes of the Storm, so that's sort of something I need to start getting into more. StarCraft 2 has always been sort of like hockey is to me. I don't know all the rules, but I really like watching it.
Sure.
It's really entertaining. It just seems like all of this stuff is just paving the way for Overwatch, because I just feel like it's going to be a monster. So if they can make all their mistakes on this little Heroes game,
right,
for whenever Overwatch comes out, I'm buying into the hype, and I'm really, really excited for this. So
yeah, and Overwatch is shaping up to be really pretty fun. I mean, and we'll take a look at a couple of the new heroes that they introduced in the Battlenet news for sure. Now we should probably go to some WoW news right now.
Calling all raiders from around World of Warcraft land. This is raiding news.
All right, it's time to check out what's happening in the news for raiders around World of Warcraft. And up first, we have more information about the little raider switcheroo that happened last week when we saw a bunch of folks from Method and some from Midwinter, and I guess one from Envy as well, all go to a new team, a new EU team called Serenity. And there were Manaflask actually interviewed Kuznam, who is the one of the raid leaders over there, and there was some pretty cool information going on. Darius, what were some of the highlights on your end?
So it looks like most of Method went and joined the new team. It's the majority of people. I don't know who didn't join yet because we don't have like a full roster,
right?
But Method is still going to stay around. Method's going to stay kind of an esports kind of team, more than just WoW. Do a bunch of things. Whereas Serenity is just going to be the hardcore WoW PvE rating kind of stuff. I guess I was wrong last week. Sloot is not going to move to Europe. He's staying in Canada.
This is true.
So I take back my good luck to him in moving.
I no longer wish him good luck in moving at all. Yeah, that's classy.
He's staying up in Canada,
Right.
America's hat. So
right, yep.
And I think that's about it.
Yeah, I mean the only one that I know that really stayed was Sko, and it seemed like a lot of the other guys, a lot of the other well-known raiders all left for Serenity. And I think the big divide was that Method is trying to make sure that they're a little bit of everything. They want to get more into esports, and so they're concentrating more on. It sounds like they're concentrating more on WoW PvP and other games, CS:GO and other Blizzard games, to make sure to hit up that esports scene. So I don't know. I mean, Tovo, do you have any idea of where this might leave Method as far as World of Warcraft PvE is concerned, and do you think it really matters to them too much? I don't know.
It doesn't sound like it, because if we narrow it down and the only person that stayed in Method in the guild is one or a couple people, it seems like it makes a lot of sense that, what they're saying, that they're going to move away from WoW PvE and they want to focus more on the other esports because they have teams and a bunch of other games and things like that. But as far as Serenity is concerned, it puts them, they're immediately in the race for any future tiers. Because some of these players that have moved over with them are really, really important to the progression. Because I watch a lot of their streams and I hear them talking about some of the crucial aspects, like for instance on Mythic Archimonde, like the rewriting of the brand new weak cores that they use that everyone started to use. Mm-hmm. For the different ability, like the Rock Chaos, for example. All those players that seem to be really, really invested into the PvE side of WoW, all joined Serenity. So, that puts them right in the middle of the thick of things, and it also gives Paragon another tier to sort of adjust to going from the 10-man to the 20-man Mythic, which seems to only going to be able to benefit them as long as they're not having any Method situations where they're breaking up or anything. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's exciting. I don't know. I think this is going to be good. It brings some news to WoW PvE, which is sort of slacking right now. So
right. Well, does it really though? Does it actually do anything for WoW PvE, or does it just kind of consolidate more of that stuff? And now we're going to see Serenity go over instead of Method. They're going to be world first instead of Method, because Method's kind of like, let's just do the esports thing. Or
other than drama, no. It doesn't add anything different other than a new name. But it gives us. We're actually talking about WoW PvE now. So in the last few weeks,
that's true.
There's nothing really to say.
If nothing else, this has brought news to WoW PvE, which has been pretty dry as of late. So that's okay. I don't know.
I had a question for you guys about the situation, because, and I've thought about this when, the news kind of broke last week, and I was shocked at how many people fled from Method to Serenity. But with this, does this create instability enough to see some of the other teams that have been kind of, meandering around at maybe like 5 and 6, 7 on the list when it comes to World First? Does this potentially give them an opening to jump in there and get a little closer to the top now that Method's kind of been sniped in the back of the knee, and Serenity has to potentially get their feet a little bit before they can maybe truly challenge? Is that a possibility or no?
Darius?
I don't think so. I think Serenity is going to hit the ground running. Those guys, they're all from hardcore raiding guilds. They know what they're doing. Right. They've got the next year and a half before new content comes out to figure out.
Not year and a half. It won't be a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
Come on.
So... Yeah, they've got a long time. I think they'll do pretty well. In fact, I would be surprised if they didn't finish world first in that first tier. There's a lot of really big, really good raiders on this team, and it looks like they're almost picking and choosing who they want to be on the team.
Yeah, it really does sound like that. they just said that they chose Sloot, and they've been really selective. They, Ferdy and who is it from Envy? Shibix. And so, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where they have said, we want to be picky. We want to make sure that these guys are in it for the long haul, that these guys are going to want to go 7 days a week, essentially, for progression days. And, most of Method was already on board with that. They're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's just do this thing. So I think that we're going to see Serenity really rise to the top on when new content comes out for Legion. So it'll be good. It'll be good, I think.
Just a side note here. We're offline.
Yeah. We're back on, actually. We're back on. I swear it. I've put us back on. We're good. But we are having some stream issues. So guys, just know that.
I can't see you anymore either, by the way.
Just try reloading. It'll be fine.
In Skype, I just see Pat.
Oh, in Skype. All right. Well, I will fix that while we move on to the next thing here. Now, Tovo, it seems that we had some Archimonde changes last week on September 10th. And can you explain what's going on with these changes and why they were meant to be? Actual rating news, folks. I like it.
So whenever you go into Archimonde, especially if you go with, say, a 10-man team, like it seems like a lot of these problems are addressing, there's so many mechanics that let's say a 30-man raid could easily handle with a few players assigned to them. But whenever you only have, say, 5 DPS to take all these mechanics that don't change whenever you go from a 30 to a 10-man, it just makes any damage to the boss, all of the priority damage to the ads, it makes it way more difficult, where normally if those mechanics were dialed back for the smaller raid teams, would be a lot easier to handle. So it artificially inflates the difficulty of the same encounter with less people.
But they did like some massive rehaul of all that stuff, right?
Yeah, there's there a lot of abilities are reduced and health reduced by 15 to 20%. A lot of the living shadows now spawn from the Nether Tear at a reduced rate, which is a huge problem because what happens, a group gets banished, and first of all, if you only have 10 people, you have almost half of those people going down into this banish phase, and then the people left up have to deal with infernals that are spawning, the added damage from all the combination of abilities, plus living shadows spawning from where the banish occurred that are attacked that run towards the players. So if you just having one person on shadows is extremely difficult, especially when you get to like 3 banish phases where there's 3 shadows running at your entire raid. So it's these things are really needed. It makes it so less people can handle them. And hopefully we'll push people through that have been working on it for a little while. Good.
I mean, because people have been complaining about the Archimonde curve as it is, not being able to get over that guy in heroic and move on to the next, move on to mythic or actually move on to heroic even on normal. It's kind of tough, right?
Yeah. When we first got there, I think there was, as far as US goes, there were less than 200 guilds that killed him, maybe. Wow. And we're really, really casual. We took a while. In terms of our time, it took a while to get there. So, it was really difficult. When we got our rings and everything, it really helped. The legendary rings and everything. I bet everybody got it. So, but yeah, no, he's a really hard fight, and having less people able to deal with the same mechanics is going to make it so teams can finally get past him.
Yay! So that's good. Nice. I like it. Anybody else have comments on Archimonde being not nerfed, just kind of tweaked, right? Just kind of tweaked for those smaller groups.
Looks like a nerf on paper. This is the time frame where Blizzard begins to look at, how many folks have actually been able to get through this and go, how do we make it so more people can be successful here? And, I know some teams that are still struggling with the encounter. So, this is the time frame that's appropriate for them to begin to make tweaks like this.
Right. Darius, have you noticed a difference? No.
Not in our groups, because we usually bring in 20 plus people into this group. Into Archimonde. So I haven't really noticed much of it. We're also at the point where, we don't notice much of it.
Right.
anyway.
Right, because you're into Mythic. How far into Mythic are you guys? What's your
3, 4, somewhere in there.
Cool.
3, maybe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, I know that we have a lot of we don't have a lot of WoW news this week, but we do have a lot of questions and different things. So I thought I'd bring them in now, and then we can get into the Battlenet news as our bonus round for all the other games and really talk about what happened this weekend in Vegas, which I really want to do. So because that was really cool. And so we'll kick it off with some Leading the Raid.
Leading the Raid.
When we can, we take a look at issues for raid leaders, and this week we have a listener question, and maybe I should take this one because this one's kind of long. And I was actually able to pre-read this one. So why don't I do this? It says, this is from Misanthropia from the Amaranthine Order in Frostmourne. And it says, hey guys, like many guilds in this expansion, ours has had the issue of recruitment, like we were talking about earlier. Constantly stuck in what I refer to as heroic hell. Stuck in heroics simply because the recruits aren't there. With a wealth of heroic guilds all fighting for recruits and mythic guilds always on the hunt to replace poor performers. Big breath. Both raiding and guilds have changed for the worse. Guild hopping has become the norm and has been rewarded. It's created a culture of poisonous raiders who cannot handle wiping for a week on a boss. It's also created lots of animosity and tension between guilds and players in the game. Because guilds are so desperate for recruits, that one bad night is becoming a raid leader's worst fear. We've wiped a heroic Archimonde for maybe 2 to 3 solid nights now, and we had 2 casualties this week. Have raiders become this lazy that they can't wipe for a few nights? Has the current raiding game changed to only accommodate instant gratification and quick results? So guys, let's get into this question a little bit, and I'm going to start with Darius because you were having some of these issues yourself. So have you seen this? Is this a problem, and is there a solution, I guess?
I think this kind of thing has always been a problem in the game. You'll always get people that think that the team they're on should be better or that they're better or whatever. And as soon as you hit a wall, they're going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else. They're going to think they can find greener pastures, whatever. It's made easier by how desperate raid teams have gotten, guilds have gotten at this point because there's so few people raiding and there's so many teams looking for raiders, but I think this has always been an issue, and always will be an issue. I don't think there's much fix for those kind of people. I mean, it sounds like these guys have wiped only 2 or 3 nights and they've lost 2 people. That seems extreme to me, but I've certainly seen that where you for a couple weeks and you hit that wall and you lose a person or two, and we saw that in the Asparagus Initiative as well, where we would, like have somebody one week and then they just be like gone. And you're like, what? Yes, it happens. It happens all the time. It's always been happening. I think do you think it's been happening more this expansion than it has in previous expansions? I think the percentage of people doing this is probably the same, but because the amount of raid teams are smaller and the amount of people raiding is smaller, it seems like more people are leaving. What might have been only one person leaving for this person's the person in the letter is now 2. Right? It's I don't know. We're dealing with a lot of these issues in Convert to Mythic, like I've said, but I think they're issues that have always been there. And if you're not proactive in it, if you're reactive, then it hits you a whole lot harder, which is what's happening to us. Right.
You have to really be on the ball when it comes to recruitment. Otherwise, if you miss a week or whatever, and you have, you don't have a bench, you might be stuck doing heroics.
Yeah. But there'll always be a raid team that's better than you. And those better raid teams are always looking for people because they are being proactive. They're filling slots before they become empty. So people are always going to jump ship and go other places.
Gotcha.
Well, and I think that this is a tough thing, and this is what we've been talking about a lot. And we definitely, there's very much an echo chamber on the show and within this community. regarding this, but I think this has always been an issue.
Well, and the real question is that what I want to know is there anything that Blizzard can do to help guilds out in this type of situation? Is there some sort of like loyalty program for guilds that, I mean, is there something where we can try to retain players in guilds to make, not necessarily make them stay, but have them want to stay an extra week or two to really make sure what's going on, instead of just wiping a couple of nights and saying, screw it, I'm off to the next guild, all greener pastures and all that. Is there a way to make them to stop and stay for a little bit? Mick, do you have any thoughts on this?
This is really complicated. I don't think that Blizzard really introduced something in the game to incentivize sticking in with a guild, with the exception perhaps of the guild system that they kind of introduced in Cataclysm and then just simply abandoned.
And then they ignored it completely.
Yeah.
And that system, people oftentimes kind of overlook the fact that it did give some significant, advantages and bonuses to the individual player within the guild, from either earning gold and a lot of other stuff. So I think bringing that back a little bit would help, and re-incentivizing that program would help. Mm-hmm. But to me, this is an issue of, content that captures people's imagination, mixed in with, being a competitive player and wanting to be the very best and wanting to try and clear content. And I think in a healthy guild, or at least a healthy team, you always have those one or two folks that aren't necessarily aren't necessarily your raid leader, but they're kind of pushing your group to try and get through stuff, right? And they're kind of trying to set the tone of this is where we want to be. And those players are the most difficult to satisfy when the guild isn't progressing at a pace that's satisfying to them. And I think right now, folks are a lot more finicky and a lot more impatient, especially long-term players who are jumping in have been doing this for a little while, and they want to clear the content and they want to get out of there. So it's getting tougher to satisfy them. But I think overall too, if the game was making content that people were ultimately satisfied with, they wouldn't have enough reason to be dissatisfied with what's going on.
Well, and so do you think that it's partly the gaming culture? The gaming culture has changed as far as games that are being created, the content that's being consumed, and all that kind of stuff. With MMOs kind of on the wane for a lot of content, it seems like, anyway. Do you think that part of it is that people want to get in, consume stuff, and not do all that grindy work? They want to just go in and play, and if they feel like they're wiping, that they're not playing correctly or something? I think it boils down to whether or not the team. It also comes down to the leadership of the team.
I think the content has been harder in this expansion for the raid content. I think you've seen a lot of teams. I think the goal or the ideal of Mythic raiding for a lot of players has put this idea that I can be the best of the best, or at least play amongst the best of the best, maybe put it out too far for folks to attain, and they've gotten frustrated and they've walked away. And I think that this guild hopping thing is not new. It's been around, as Derry said, forever. The real issue is the content, and Blizzard has to figure out ways to make the system move along faster and then introduce more content along behind it to continue to keep these players satisfied. I think it's just the fact that folks get bored too easy. And, if you've gone through a couple expansions, wiping on a boss 200 times doesn't sound as fun as it used to.
What?
Yeah, I mean, that's where folks are like, I wiped on this boss 200 times. F this. I'm going to go into Heroes of the Storm and, play 4 matches and feel satisfied. And in the future, same thing with Overwatch.
Or go into Diablo and get another 400 Paragon levels.
Right, exactly.
Right, Tovo?
Yeah. Folks have to feel successful. And that's really what Blizzard has to look at in the mark is rating has let's face it, at times rating has a very low reward threshold, right? You spend a lot more time failing than you do succeeding oftentimes, especially early on in the raid tier. So that's something that Blizzard's got to take a look at.
Yep, for sure. Tovo, what do you think about all this as far as, from your standpoint? Is there anything that we can do as maybe as raid leaders to make it better for people, or is this just going to be a continual problem?
So I agree with both of the guys on their points. I think the raiding content itself inside the raids is fine. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe though the content outside of raids isn't. It's not in a place where people want to stay together as a guild group to work toward the carrot off in the distance. They stay in their garrison, which has become a garden of carrots. They can just stay there and get fat. They don't have to venture out to search for anything or work
or it's
for anything.
become like a prison.
There's
some
no
people
reward.
have said that too. So
you need motivation. This game's all about motivation to get better,
Right.
you know, and to work towards, as a group, the end goal, whichever end goal you set. And if you're in a raid group, it's for raiding, you know, and if you're not doing anything outside of the raids to foster more relationships, to keep everybody working together. If you just, I mean, of course you can go play heroes. There's a lot more competition for people's hours now than there seems like there used to be at WoW's height. But yeah, I feel like there has to be some more things. There are things to do in the game, but there's things like challenge mode golds, which don't progress you towards your raid team's end goal, which is raiding success, you know. So there's a lot of things you can do, but you have to, if you have a good leader that organizes these things and people that are willing to spend their time on it, it can work out. But I feel like there needs to be more pathways to the end goal carrot that you're chasing after in a raid team.
Right.
So.
I also think that Blizzard on this particular expansion didn't do a great job with group content overall. I mean, just with wanting people to form groups. It seems like this particular expansion was one that was kind of more single player in a lot of ways. It seemed a lot more single player, and I think with the Garrison, it kind of made it feel a lot more single player rather than an MMO. There wasn't they took the MM out of MMORPG, so it seemed like it was, I don't know, it was just kind of a tough expansion for group content, for grouping together and staying together and making people feel like they were part of a team. So, but that's from my standpoint. So,
but to piggyback a little bit on what Tovo was saying,
Sure.
It does come down to guild leadership a lot too. Like,
oh yeah.
I don't want to bash this person who sent in this email over the head at all and make it sound like they're not doing a great job of leading. I'm sure they're doing a great job, but there are people out there who are leading guilds that are very entrenched and still loving and enjoying and playing. I mean, look at Sparty Smallwood's, guild that he's got. I mean, that's got a really healthy and strong culture for that team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's an example of a raid leader and a guild leader who is really working his tail off to try and make sure this content continues to stay interesting, so his community stays together. And that's going to be the case. I think at this point, this is when guild leaders kind of have to step up their game to keep folks interested in the community that they're a part of.
Right. And we found in the CTR guild, we actually have, some unique things going for us, just having as many people as we do and always being able to kind of find somebody to do stuff with. That's a big part of it too. And we know that the end of expansions are generally a lull time for a lot of folks. Some people unsub, waiting for that next new content to come out. So we're kind of seeing some of that creep in as well. So it's a lot tougher for especially smaller guilds to make stuff happen. So that means that you got to work, 3-4 times as hard as everybody else when you're trying to make it work as a small guild of 20-ish people. That's super tough. So good luck to you as you move forward, and we feel you. I mean, that's really all we can say, because Darius especially, you feel his pain. So
yeah,
that's all part of the deal. Let's move on to another question. I'm gonna just swoop down to this one right here, but first we have this.
We've got mail.
We do. And if you have a question about anything for us, about rating or anything else, let us know. We'll try to answer it on the show. You can email us at converttoraid@gmail.com or call our raid line, 612-787-RAID, and that's where we get our next question.
Hey guys, this is Taneb from the Convert to Raid Guild on Airy Peak. I was calling to talk about the proposed class changes. We know that Survival is getting an overhaul and becoming Melee. We know that there are big changes in store for Disc Priests. There's even some rumors that the Assassination spec may become a ranged spec. I wanted to know, how do you guys feel about these changes? Are these the sorts of changes that would make you lose interest in your class entirely, or do you want to go and check things out? I know when they changed the Ret Paladin and introduced Holy Power going into Cataclysm, I lost all interest in what had been my main at the time. On the other hand, I've liked some of the changes they've made to monks. Thank you.
All right, so we're talking about changes for Legion. Are you guys excited about them? Are you guys dreading them, or what? Let's start with Darius.
The Disc Priest changes, I'm definitely all for. Like, I'm looking forward to them. I don't like what they've done with Disc Priests. I think Disc Priests are boring in Warlords.
And kind of broken?
No, they're not broken. They're fine. They're just boring. But so I'm looking forward to that. As for the other classes, I can't really speak to them, but you know, I'm not all like, I don't play much of a hunter. I mean, I have a hunter, but I don't play very much. But to me, it seems like the play style is very similar between almost all three specs. Maybe not Beast Mastery, but Survival and Marksman. You know, I would like to see more diversity there.
Right.
You know, so maybe melee is quite drastic, but you know, maybe it could work. I don't know.
Right. How about you, Tovo? You're huntering, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've rated on. It's the only thing I've played at a, I don't know, high level, if you want to say that. It's the only thing I've rated on competitively. For survival, I would really be interested if they made it a tanking spec. I mean, I know people have batted that around a little bit.
Maybe it'll work as good as Rexar in Heroes of the Storm. Oh wait, whoops.
I mean, that would be great. That'd be so great. But some of the different speculation on the other specs is really exciting. Like, it might, sure, you may lose interest in, let's say, your marksman right now for rating. You may lose interest in what they changed for marksman, but if what they say comes true and all of the different, they change all of the specs in the game to feel unique, that's gonna open up so many other possibilities for. I mean, it's gonna be like a whole new game. I mean, if they follow through with it as drastic, obviously it's not gonna be as drastic as survival moving to melee, but Shadow Priests, if they're talking, what's their resource going to be changed to, like insanity or something?
Insanity, yeah.
I mean, that stuff like that just sounds great. Like, I mean, maybe I won't be a hunter in Legion. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Get out of here.
But it's going to be fun to try out. It's gonna feel like brand new specs. I hope that's my hope.
Cool.
So
cool. Mick, how about you?
Here's what I would say, and this is directly to Celestalon, who I know is in charge of the classes. Listen up, buddy. This one's just for you.
Oh boy.
Pick a spec in every class. Pick one spec. I don't care which one it is. Wrap it up in dynamite, light it up, and blow that sucker to bits. Now's the time to do something drastic with every class, because kind of like what Tovo was alluding to, we need to keep this fresh and interesting. And I think, Hunter, survival going melee this is the time to begin to make these kind of drastic changes with some of these specs, that, especially the ones that aren't getting played that often. What's the worst that's going to happen? People are going to continue to not keep playing them. So, just do something strange. I mean, give us that Warlock tank that folks have been asking for, and give us Shaman tanks back, and all those things that folks
Shaman tank! Oh, look out!
Good buddy Joe Perez Lodor, he'd love to see Shaman tanks back in the game.
Right.
So, I think that now's the time to do some drastic stuff and do some crazy things, or go even crazier and give us a fourth spec on Druids of Fist. This is the time that we've got to take these. This is a way to take. And without, you're already giving us a new class with Demon Hunters, but it's in a chance it's also to give us, a bunch of new classes by giving everyone just this kind of out of left field spec to play.
Sure. And I would just say, as long as everything feels, okay, so I think that one of the things that Blizzard wants is they want to get back to having some lore into their specs, into their classes. And that's why they're trying to, introduce the class halls, and that's why they're saying, oh, you know what, we're gonna change up these different specs and make them all feel unique and different. Especially with rogues, they're gonna feel unique and different. Hopefully, that's what they're going for anyway. And with hunters, they're definitely looking like they're gonna be unique and different, especially if one of them is melee. That's insane. And hopefully, Disc Priests will not continue to break healing for everybody else.
I hope they do.
But, as long as the classes feel unique, and mages don't feel like warlocks or vice versa, then it should be okay. It should be good. And hopefully it'll be based on something in lore where you can say, okay, you know what? This is a very magey thing to do. or this is a very warlocky thing to do. Let's make sure that we're staying on point with these different classes and not messing it up, trying to make sure that everybody has the same button, you know? And let's get away from that a little bit now that we've got that cleaned up. So, anything else on this here, fellas? Okay, well, in that case, we're going to move on to the Battlenet news. And by the way, we are off the stream because it was ridiculously bad, and I apologize to the entire streaming, those guys that were joining us on the stream. It was horrible, and I don't know what happened. Terrible internets tonight. I don't know what's going on. So, let's go into the Battlenet news, and first of all, I want to talk about something that actually happened today, and it was from an unexpected source, and that was for Overwatch. Kind of crazy. We have a couple of new heroes, don't we, Mick? I'm going to select you.
Yeah, we've got two, and I think too, in many cases, this is some of the first heroes we've seen that look more like villains than they do actual heroes. We've got Roadhog, which is one of the another tank being introduced to Overwatch. So he's kind of a big Stitches-looking dude. Both of these guys have a real Mad Max Fury Road look to them for sure. So Roadhog is one of them, and then Junkrat is the other. Both of these tunes have been introduced just literally within the last couple of days, I think. So, yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? This is we're starting to see more and more heroes. We're starting to round it out from the original batch that we got at BlizzCon last year, and we got quite a chunk of them now.
Yeah. So, Tovo, what's your thought on these couple of new heroes and how Overwatch is shaping up?
So, watching that preview of the two new classes, all I could think about was how I just want to play Roadhog so bad because I want that chain hook thingy.
Yeah,
it might be the only tank I play.
It's the Stitches. It's the same Stitches thing that we've seen in Heroes, and it does look fantastic. It actually does.
I really want to play it. The other guy I didn't really have an opinion on. He has like his wheel thingy that he sort of like a drone, I guess, if you want to compare it to something. But he drives around and blows people up with. It looks pretty cool. But I was really impressed with Roadhog's chain hook thingy.
And both of them do look like they came from a junkyard.
Yeah, they did.
So, Darius, how about you?
I'm just worried that they're going to keep adding heroes to it, like they are doing in Heroes of the Storm. I started playing FPSs, these kind of class based with Team Fortress and Team Fortress 2 and all of those, and there's a set number, and you never add more to it because you get very good at one specific play style, and you learn all the nuances of one type. A medic or a soldier or whatever it is. And if they keep adding and adding and adding, I think it detracts from that whole thing. This is, sure. Heroes, it works because it's different. It's a MOBA. But when you're talking this first person shooter class-based kind of game, I don't think that works very well. And I could see if they keep doing that, actually hurting the game quite a bit.
How many heroes are they up to? Do we know? Because it seems like quite a bit right now. It
12,
seems like around a dozen or so. And
18. 18.
18? Wow.
What? Really?
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy, man.
I think
that's too many.
With Darius, they can slow down a little bit here. But, my prediction has been, as of late, we're going to see this beta in a couple of weeks. So I think that launching with this many heroes is probably appropriate for beta.
When do you think we're going to see it?
I think we're going to see Overwatch in October. I really think that it was very telling. Talked about this on a couple of the other shows that, that I do that. Blizzard kind of, I think, has started to set for us a little bit of a release schedule in and around BlizzCon. Mm-hmm. So last year, we know obviously that Warlords came out right after BlizzCon. And then a month after that, we had Goblins versus Gnomes released the first week of December. I think that's a pattern that they're going to stick to. So my prediction for a while has been, we're going to get StarCraft Legacy of the Void right after the BlizzCon. We'll see the WoW beta in December, and that leaves where's Overwatch supposed to go. There's only one place for it to go left that it doesn't crowd the other properties, and that's October. So I was not surprised that as soon as the America's Championship wrapped up, which is kind of a big focus point for Blizzard, we started to see some Overwatch stuff.
Right, exactly. So let's move on to Diablo, because I know, Tovo, you wanted to talk about Diablo a little bit because you like Diablo.
I like Diablo. I don't know. I'm just obsessed with Diablo. I don't know if I like Diablo.
you don't know if you like it, but you just play it
More of a
constantly.
condition.
Yeah,
Oh, all right, I got you. So we're starting to see the season wind down, as we talked a little bit before. So how was the season? What did we see? What are some of the? Because there were some concerns as well with Diablo, right?
So the season's winding down in terms of the rabid interest in the new season. As far as the season actually winding down, it's probably only a third of the way through.
Right.
If you look at last season and use that as a metric, but yeah, so there's been a lot of bugs, I guess you would say. There was a recent bug that allowed you to equip every passive on your character by some method of crafting the Hellfire amulets, which the Hellfire amulet comes with a passive that you can use. So there was some type of bug that allowed players to get on the leaderboards and use weird, crazy items and skills, but all that did was confirm that they were doing the Hellfire amulet bug. Supposedly that's been fixed, and they're starting to deal with the players that have been using that to their advantage. The botting seems to be kind of out of control, just from talking to people and reading things. I don't know how far I want to get into it,
Well,
but
I mean, I guess I don't get it. What is the advantage of botting in Diablo?
so what's going on is, so players are staying up 20 hours a day still. Some of them are streamers that are making their living doing this, which a lot of the top streamers are probably not. I mean, you can track their progress. You can look at their profile and look how many hours that they've played for the season.
Right.
And a lot of them line up pretty well with their streaming schedule. But there's a few, one in particular, I'm not going to say his name, but he's at least, the last time I looked, he was at least 80 paragons higher than the next person. He's almost 1600 paragon. And what it does is, so you bot when you sleep, and you get greater rift keys while you're bot. So you gather all the keys needed, whereas a person who didn't bot would have to do that on their own. And while they're doing that, they earn way less experience. So what that person is doing is every waking hour, they're able to put into getting a full experience grind using the keys that they earned while they were sleeping.
Seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, it seems really strange for there's a lot of people that have been calling him out and asking for action to be done because he's so vocal about it, and he's almost daring, sort of like a Wreckful situation whenever he was
Wreckful.
Just the way he's going about it seems really arrogant, and that's never something that works out in the end for the people. So, but yeah, so it's pretty rampant, but the interest is really starting to wane. The people like me, I think I went 36 hours whenever the season started playing nonstop. My eyes burned.
You're right. You do have a condition.
Yeah. So
serious.
But it's a lot of fun. I understand it. It hijacks my human reward system, but I allow it to. And yeah, so it's something that needs to be looked at probably. I mean, I'm sure that they're already they're flagging accounts and everything, but yeah, so it's a really good time though. I mean, as long as those things weren't happening, the competition for the greater lift levels is there, so it's pretty fun. So
cool.
Yeah, it's been a good season.
Good. Well, let's get into some heroes talk. Heroes of the Storm, and we have some new hero skins and mounts still being worked on. Arcanus, Lieutenant Morales, Marshal Raynor, which is a pretty cool skin, as well as Buccaneer Falstad, which is amazing. Mick, I don't know if you have a comment on that particular one, but I mean, he's riding a parrot with a hook.
Yeah, I think that ultimately what Blizzard's doing right now is this is their game where it's ultimately about fan service, right? So they're just doing the coolest things they possibly can do as it relates to this. And this particular skin and mount has a little bit of it has a little bit of a tie to Hearthstone ish. So some folks have been kind of pointing it out. So it's a cute little trick that Blizzard's been pulling with some of these things. But for the most part, I mean, these skins are a step above the last batch of skins and mounts that came out overall. I mean, they're Blizzard
really cool.
is going crazy right now with these.
They're really cool. But of course, that's not the coolest thing that happened this weekend because we were doing all the stuff in Vegas as well. correct?
Yeah, I mean, basically what happened in Vegas was we had the Americas Championship. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the quote unquote the scene in esports and what's going on with Heroes, to prepare for BlizzCon, they've kind of divided up the world into these regions. We have Europe, we have China, we have Korea, and then everyone else was kind of dumped into quote unquote the Americas. So that was. Sorry, guys. That was my daughter coming up telling me she killed a bug. We had North America, South America, Southeast Asia, and we also had Australia and New Zealand. So basically what happened was we all met in Las Vegas. These teams did battle, and it was pretty epic.
Awesome. And, of course, we saw Tempo Storm, and we saw Cloud9 go head-to-head for the finals, and it was amazing gameplay. I got to watch a few games of this. I don't know if you guys did either. I know, Mick, you did, obviously. But Darius, did you watch this? Did you watch it?
I watched the finals. I watched, Tempo Storm and Cloud9. I watched them.
Yep.
All 5 of their games.
That was
amazing. It was intense. Yeah, it was really good.
Dude, Tovo, did you watch this?
No, you guys have to fill me in.
Oh, God. So the most amazing thing is, just as far as gameplay goes from Heroes of the Storm, is the denying of turn-ins for the other team. Like in Game 5, they had the booty, what is it called? Booty Bay or whatever it is.
Where the map was decided
on. So and then you saw like Cloud9 going off and like interrupting guys as they were turning in, and it was just really amazing and cool. And it was like they were interrupting the guys, and then like, oh yeah, we totally denied you, and then we're gonna come and wreck your face. And so really good stuff from Cloud9. Mick.
Yeah.
Give us the scoop. What happened in Vegas? What was the inside scoop from this weekend? What do you got?
I think that the inside scoop is what Blizzard was really excited about was the fact that the tournament really decided to show off how deep Heroes of the Storm actually is as a game, because the criticism that, other MOBA game players will have is that Heroes is a casual MOBA. It's a casual MOBA. Dismiss it and kind of flutter it off, because our game has things like items and such. Mm-hmm. So really what this tournament did was just show how diverse the game actually is, because there was no singular meta at play here. If you looked at the compositions by both of the teams, and that's, for those of you who don't know what compositions means, that's just how the teams are kind of made up. How many support, how many damage, how many warriors, that kind of thing. The compositions were incredibly varied. We saw 3 tank out of Tempo Storm for the first time, kind of stealing that from Korea. We saw double tank combinations. We saw the Butcher Uther combo. We saw an incredible no tank composition out of Cognitive, and probably the play of the tournament, with Glaurung on Illidan and Abathur basically pitching all the way past a gate, past another gate, and getting a kill right next to the core.
That was so cool. Dude, I was watching that game and I was like, you got to be kidding me with Illidan. That was craziness.
Yeah, and that really turned him into somewhat of a little bit of a superstar for the tournament, even though his team didn't progress to the finals.
Right.
So a lot of that stuff. So it showed the depth of it. The Cloud9 Tempo Storm matchup was a lot of head games. There was a lot of meta stuff happening outside of the actual matchup in game. And probably the thing, so there was kind of 2 controversies in this tournament. The first one, which ended up not really meaning anything, was the fact that Rexar originally was banned from the tournament because he was too new. And then the players actually went to Blizzard and said, hey, we've been playing with Rexar. We're ready to use him. Can you put him back in? So they put him back into the tournament late on Thursday. And that kind of surprised a couple of the teams that weren't ready for that. But that ended up actually not affecting the gameplay that much. The one that did was how the teams were seeded in the first group round, because that allowed Tempo Storm and Cloud9 to play each other, and Cloud9 basically baited them to show them their compositions. And that there was kind of a controversial thing, because Tempo Storm kind of played their hand, and then when Cloud9 and Tempo Storm then faced each other again on the second day in the finals, Cloud9 was a little bit ready for them. But at the end of the day, really what happened was on Blackheart's Bay, Cloud9 just controlled that turn-in and would not let Tempo Storm in.
Which was amazing play. I mean, that was just it wasn't even the short range stuff. It was those long range shots that they like just shoot way across the screen from beyond where they can see. And
Rose Tyrande play was just the revelation in that whole matchup. He just dominated them from top to finish with that owl.
So cool. And, I don't necessarily know a lot about Heroes and about all the different teams and about all the different comps and about all the different heroes and stuff like that, but it was just amazing to watch. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun. And congrats to Cloud9 because they won $100,000. Tempo Storm is also going to be in the tournament for BlizzCon, right?
That's correct. And we have, at this point, we still have the European teams to qualify, and I believe we have the Korean teams still to qualify. So we've still got some action for Heroes of the Storm coming up. So this weekend, I think, is the EU qualifiers. China is already sending 2 teams, E-Star and Team YL. So those are already qualified. So Cloud9, Tempo, Team YL, and E-Star already going.
Cool.
Yeah. And if you want more information on this, StormCast episode 61, we did kind of a documentary of the whole weekend, and we just put that out today. So.
Amazing that you would do that, because you have a show called StormCast that's all about Heroes of the Storm.
That is true.
And you were there, so why not?
Yeah, it sounded like a good idea. I brought my portable recorder, and we interviewed some fun folks, and it was a great
Sounds like
time.
you got to talk to a lot of amazing people, too, so that's great. I'm glad that you had a lot of fun, and I'm glad that that was an exciting tournament. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I really think that if you aren't into esports and you don't get it, and Hearthstone may not be for you, and StarCraft is not for you because you maybe not get it, I think Heroes is worth your time. I think it's easy to follow. And the teams are, it's a team as opposed to an individual player. So it's some interesting stuff. And the casters really just did a fantastic job between, obviously, Artosis and Tasteless were there, but Gillyweed and Babel and Solid J.
Babel was great, man.
And Trixler, they just did a great job bringing it together. And they do such a good job of explaining what's going on in the action for folks that have a little bit of a harder time keeping up. So great production overall out of Blizzard.
Sometimes they get a little deep with the casting, but that's all right. That's okay. I'll take that.
They're playing to the esport nerds.
Yeah, I know they are.
They talk about how much spell shield can stack on Brightwing and a
well, it was a good time anyway. I enjoyed the heck out of it. So, all right, maybe we should get the heck out of Dodge, though. Maybe we should do that. And so I'm going to play this music. And thank you for the report on Vegas, by the way, Mick. Thank you very much. Who do we have to thank this week from iTunes 5 stars, Darius?
We only have one this week. It's from someone named Memnozel Jimmy. I got no idea.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it's not necessarily about the quantity. It's always about the quality. So thank you very much for your 5-star review. And, of course, thanks for all the comments that we've seen on the YouTube stuff over at converttoraid.com. That's amazing. Over at Gamebreaker TV. That's great. Any shout-outs this week from you guys? Anyone? Mick, you got some?
Yeah, I got one. Just a quick shout out to the community and PR team over at Blizzard for this weekend. Great event. And a shout out to my co-hosts on StormCast, Notch and Willie Dills Gregory.
And you added Willie, right?
Yeah. Dills has joined the show, and so we're off and running with 3 co-hosts now, and excited about kind of prepping and getting ready for BlizzCon.
Awesome. That's great. And, of course, I would like to give a shout-out to all the CTR Guild officers over on Airy Peak, as I should always do on this show. You guys keep the guild running, and we cannot do it without you, so thank you very much, guys, for that. And we cannot thank you guys out there enough for what you do. Thank you for taking the time to rate us on iTunes. Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for all the questions this week, that even the ones that I couldn't get to. But please feel free to join in on the conversation we're having at any time. And you can do that real easy. But first, I'm going to bail out of that, and I'm going to play some of this. There we go. You can email us at converttoraid@gmail.com. You can call us and leave comments and questions on our raid line, 612-787-RAID. That's 612-787-7243. You can follow us on Twitter at converttoraid or individually. Isn't that right, Darius?
You can follow Pat Crane. He's at Pat Crane with a K. Mm-hmm. Darius is at BoardMine. Tovo is at Diablo Addict, I think. Is that what it is?
If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's LOS_gaming. Also on Twitch, Tafa's been streaming a lot.
Whoa. This is Twitter, not Twitch, okay?
No, say your Twitch, because that's important too.
They can find us everywhere.
Yeah, that's important too.
It's the same thing. It's LOS_gaming.
Right.
TwitchTV.LOS.
Awesome. And Mick, you're at Mick Montgomery, right?
That's correct. I'm over at Mick Montgomery on Twitter. And,
of course, you have all of your shows over on Spazbot Studios. And
go to spazbotstudios.com. You can find out info about all the shows I do.
And, of course, you can always find them over at signalsmedia.com. You can at least find a couple of them over there. So make sure to do that as well. You can join the Bazuba Guabo Nation. Oh, boy. By heading over to convertraid.com, where we have show downloads, forums, videos, audios, tons of links for raiders, and so much more. It's all over at convertraid.com. For the live shows, when they are functioning properly, you can go to convertraid.com/live. We're also live streaming on alphageekradio.com. And the Convert to Raid podcast is produced and distributed by Signals Media. And make sure to check out all of our friends like Mick and like the 2-minute tips are on convertraid.com, of course. Of course they are, from Tovo and Tatva. And lots of other shows over at signalsmedia.com as a part of the Signals Media All-Star Network. That's going to be it for the show. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on our next show next week at our regular time, Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central. And for all the guys on Convert to Raid, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.